Hello, this is DB.
And this is Steve.
This is DB and Steve Sports Thoughts. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about wrestling. A little bit. Well, probably quite a bit, but we're not going to touch on this stuff. I'm supposed to be having my buddy Abel Graves on here. He's a great wrestler and everything else. He's been in the business for a while, but he's in the more of the amateur circuit. It's hard to get him onto the scene and everything else, but we'll get him here and we'll go over that story later on, guys. Don't worry about that. But so for now, we're going to be going
WWE.
Oh yeah, we've got the WWE going on. So it'll be good for, like, we'll get the bridge the two per se, because they all kind of intertwine. All the businesses, they work together, and they know they do. Like, it's how all the businesses are. Like, they're always out camping around. They're always looking for people to get up to the pros, as you can so call it, the pros in WWE. Because yes, we all know that wrestling is fake.
That's all not scripted. To say to wrestling fans.
It is all scripted. We understand that it is, and I'm sorry if I offend any wrestling fans. I used to be a big-time wrestling fan. I'm just not anymore. Like, it's just what it is. But
so what I have to say to that right off the bat, I agree. It's scripted. However, I don't care who you are. You take a shot, you take a spine buster, you take anything from these ladies and gents, and I don't care what's happening. You're hurting the next day.
Oh yeah, definitely. As fake as it is real. It is definitely real. Like, it definitely will, like, wipe you clean. If you one wrong move, you're gonna get hurt. You have to know how to take a fall and all that stuff. But by the time they get into WWE, they should know that.
Oh yeah.
They should know how to spot, and they should know how to take a fall, take a punch, throw a punch. Like, that's just a given. Like, by the time they're in the WWE, that they should already know that. But what they know and what they don't know is crazy. I would never want to get in a ring. I could never see myself mutilating my body in that kind of form to give people pleasure, to give people entertainment. Well, granted, like I said, these guys, all the power to them. But no, not me. It's just not the way it works.
Yeah, well, let's go back to the history, because I mean, both you and I were huge wrestling fans when we were younger. I'm probably into it still more than you are at the moment.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't even doubt that.
In the Attitude Era, where the top names such as The Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker, Kane, Triple H, all those people. So it was after the Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan era, the WCW era. I was right after that. But that's what I grew up on, and that's what I considered as cool. So my first question to you, back in the day, that's when you actually had to pay for pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Like, actually had to pay. There was no streaming.
But actually had to pay for what? $24? All right, you got 5 of your buddies, you all threw in $5, and you got to watch WrestleMania, and you got to get drunk. Like,
that's even before my time. We're talking $50. That was the WCW days. Once it got a little bit bigger, $50.
WCW, ECW. I remember watching ECW. Like, that was some hardcore stuff. That was some oof. But some of the bigger names came out of ECW. The guys who could take those big falls, those big jumps.
Oh, the names,
their bodies.
Yeah, I mean, the names that you wouldn't even think of, like Stone Cold Steve Austin. He was in ECW, and he's a household name.
Oh yeah, his household name was not Stone Cold Steve Austin.
It's Pretty Steve, I believe.
Yeah, he wasn't a heel as much as he was in WWE. He was definitely more of the pretty boy. He was more of the flashy type. When he went over to WCW, WWE, that's when it all changed for him. Like that's what, like when him and Vince McMahon got together, that's when Stone Cold Steve Austin came out. He was the perfect heel for Vince McMahon because he was an everyday working man. That's why people loved him. Have some beers, fuck up some people,
flip people off. Yeah, he was the normal guy.
Yeah. He was considered the normal guy. He was considered the guy that everybody wanted to be because look at that, it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. How many Stone Cold 316 shirts have you seen in your lifetime because of that man? He brought that around so much. So many shirts. I've seen so many shirts with that Stone Cold 316.
Oh yeah, well that's iconic throughout the entire ages.
We have DP jumping in, Deadpool. He's our little special guest here today. He's going to let us know more about the fan side of it because he definitely knows way more than I do. Cause,
that's why I actually watch it.
Well, you actually watch it more than I do. I know. We were just getting into like how like Stone Cold was like the perfect heel for Vince McMahon, but when he first started out in ECW, he was more of a pretty boy.
He started off as a pretty boy in ECW and WCW, and then when he got to WWE, it's when he became Stone Cold.
So I was right. I just forgot about the WCW stuff.
Yeah, he did WCW and then he did ECW, and when he was doing ECW, he was actually hurt for a while, and all he did was promos. And that's why he ended up going to WWE.
That's where he got his mic skills in ECW. He got his mic skills there. Cause
he honed his mic skills at ECW, yes.
Well, that's where, because he had to do all the promos and everything else when he was hurt.
Yeah.
That's where he got all that better and everything. But no, it was definitely like, what have you seen different from, say, back in 2000, 2001 till now in that kind of like that span? Because I know a lot changed from then and there. Because actually, like 2001 or 2002 is when they went over to the WWE logo, isn't it? Because that's when they had the fight in like 2000 with the Wildlife Foundation.
Yeah, it was somewhere right around the mid-Attitude Era where they switched over. Because you'll still see videos of Stone Cold, Mick Foley that are still under the WWF banner.
Yep.
But, yeah, they switched somewhere right around mid-Attitude Era to the WWE logo to get away from the lawsuit with the Wildlife Foundation.
That's what I thought. That's why I kind of stick away from using the whole WWF moniker anywhere, because I don't want people misunderstanding that I'm talking about wrestling and not the World
Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start this off, DP. Thanks for joining. So I know back in the day I was telling DB here that I started in the Attitude Era with, The Undertaker, Stone Cold, Rock, all them. And everyone had a gimmick. It was a character. There was no behind the scenes. You didn't know what was behind the curtain. There was no kayfabe, anything. So it wasn't until they changed over to the WWE that it started going, it started with Tough Enough and seeing people behind the scenes, wrestlers that you saw on TV every week being trainers and coaches, and just having these people like Maven come aboard and, see what wrestling was all about. And this was really before the time of the internet. So in your opinion, what are your thoughts of, has professional wrestling almost lost its creativity or its surprise, because you can always find something of what they're doing on the internet or on, the dirt sheets, as they would call it, rather than in the old days where you literally had to watch every week to see what was going to happen.
Oh, see, wrestling hasn't really lost any, I want to say, like, nostalgia for me, because you can find it on the internet. It just makes it easier to where if you missed watching a Monday Night Raw, you can catch up by Wednesday night on everything that happened, so you're just staying up with your storylines. Being able to watch things like NXT and all that just show you the developmental side of how well these guys are performing before they hit the main roster, if they belong there, if they don't belong there. Same thing with watching like AEW. You're going to catch a whole different side of the promotion instead of just seeing, oh, they're in the ring, this is their character. Being able to watch things online, you'll catch, like The Undertaker, when he decided he was going to retire, you actually got to see into his life because he hadn't done an interview in 30 years. So his interviews finally brought you up to speed as to everything he did to keep his persona just who he was, out in public, in the ring, behind the scenes, no matter what.
That whole persona, that you become your persona. Especially once you're in the bigger things. You figure that's why, like, Abel is Abel. It's not even, like, I know that it's not Abel. Is not his real name, but that's who he is.
Yeah. Well, Mark Calloway didn't exist in 30 years. He never existed to anybody that was inside the wrestling world. Fan or working there. He was not Mark Calloway. He was The Undertaker.
Yeah.
He didn't become Mark Calloway till he decided he was going to retire.
Oh, yeah.
When he decided that he was going to put everything out on the line.
Well, does that ruin it? Do you think that he should have retired as The Undertaker and not as Mark Calloway?
He retired as The Undertaker.
Yeah, no, he retired as The Undertaker.
But when he put all of his stuff out there, that's when everybody could see the Mark Calloway side of The Undertaker.
But that's my whole point, is does that take away, to me, like, at least younger kids, maybe it's different being an adult now, following it through his 30-year career, but as a kid, seeing the Phenom, seeing these characters, seeing Kane, and then all of a sudden...
Yeah, but you'll remember that when you get older, you'll be like, okay, now I get it. Like, it's those learning moments that you actually don't notice as a kid, but you appreciate once you get older.
But just imagine, so you're watching it, you haven't watched it in 10 years. The last match you watched was Kane versus Undertaker, Kane versus someone, so you see the big red monster and his mask and stuff. And then you go on TV and you see that he is now the mayor of a town.
Okay, we've done this already. They've already did that. What's his name?
Ventura.
Ventura became Governor Ventura. All right.
Yeah, Queen is actually the mayor of a town.
Yeah.
In Tennessee.
Yeah. So I see what you're getting at. You can't expect the characters to remain characters their entire lives.
No, they definitely, those characters have changed, and characters have become, even characters have changed different names of them. Look at Dustin Rhodes and his son.
Well, let's look at it this way. If he retired as The Undertaker, never put any of these interviews out, never did an interview, yet he still has that nostalgia of being The Undertaker. But people who have grown up watching him through his entire 30-year career, through everything that he's been through, want to know that backstory.
But why?
I like knowing the backstory because I like to know
why they stuck with it for so long.
Why was he out? Why did he stick with it? Why did he switch halfway through and go to the American Badass? Why did he switch gear from the purple to straight black? Why did he do all of this? And having these interviews brings everything I've watched into, like, okay, so I see why he did this, I see why he did that.
Exactly.
right? And then you have guys like Chris
It's
Jericho.
like behind the scenes. It's like the extras from the edited versions from the directors, like the directors.
It's like the director's plot of all the movies and everything.
Yeah,
You know?
it's pretty much just a recap of like his story.
Right? But then you go into characters like Chris Jericho. There is absolutely no mystery to that man at all.
Yeah. He's himself.
Right? He is truly himself, and he's a rock star.
Yeah.
Oh
If he had to choose between wrestling and going out and singing his music, he would drop wrestling in a heartbeat. We all know it. It's Jericho.
Yeah, it's
All right?
Jericho.
But then
That's
you've got
doing both.
but then you got guys like Randy Orton, who on screen is a mean, sadistic SOB.
Was one of the nicest guys off screen.
But off screen, he's a big family guy. He's been taking a lot more time off from wrestling to spend with his kids, with his wife. Now, so you've got all these progressions with the internet that you can see, like, oh, I know I'm not supposed to like him because he's a heel, but when he's out of wrestling, he's not that guy. So you can see where the personas separate from being in wrestling and out of wrestling. You can see Survivor Series 4 years ago, I think. Shane McMahon got hurt. His kids were in the front row. You could see Randy Orton standing on the side, talking to his kids, doing, "Don't worry, your dad's gonna be fine. He's getting taken care of by the best paramedics." Now you could see all those bits and pieces of things that you could never see back in the Attitude Era,
Oh no.
because they would cut that out just enough to where you couldn't see that, so that storyline lined up to be like, oh yeah, he's mean, he's sadistic, he'll never change, and he would throw you under a bus out in real life.
Well, that's what they enjoyed about it. They enjoyed having those heels, being able to get the crowd to go, even though you're supposed to hate them.
Well,
Even
right.
though like cheered though that many people filling arenas.
I'm definitely of the opinion where there's got to be a happy medium. And again, this is just my opinion, is that once they started doing the reality shows, I think Total Divas, and on the WWE Network when they were doing everything behind the scenes and everything, just the shows.
Well,
Yeah,
you can saturate
something like that.
everything too much. Like that's always a given. There's always sometimes it's just way too saturated. But guess that's what age we live in. Unfortunately, we are in that age where everything is on the internet. Everything is saturated.
If you want that kind of persona still, and that kind of, like, I don't want to know what's going on behind the scenes, he's supposed to be heel, I don't want to know him. You have some guys who are in the industry who only do the bare minimum of any kind of social media that they have to.
Yeah.
And it's not even them doing it. They'll hand it off to somebody else.
Oh yeah.
We'll publish it for them, and they're only publishing little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
So you still get that mystery and that like drive to, oh, I hate you because you're a heel, or oh, I'm really supposed to like you, you're a face.
Yep.
You know, you have the New Day. They are the biggest faces in WWE as of right now.
The New Day
Right.
is that Edge.
The New Day. No, the New Day is Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, and Big E. But they are the biggest faces for the past, I don't know, 5-6 years now.
Oh wow.
They started off as heels.
Oh, so
And started off
like
with-
the NWO.
Virtually.
No, there wasn't even the NWO. They were heels as preachers. So they were religious haters, right? They hated everybody who wasn't religious.
Oh,
And
wow.
it didn't work for them. And after, I think they did that for like 6 months, they switched over to being faces because they could bring that power of positivity in and make everybody smile and have a good time. And it didn't matter what kind of like day you were having. When you heard their opening music, the arena just popped and it exploded. And they've been able to do so much just weird ass bullshit.
Oh yeah.
Xavier loves what do you figure? Xavier loves the cosplay. So they do Power Rangers, gear, they've done Dragon Ball Z gear, they've done Mortal Kombat gear. You know, their gear is always changing.
Yeah.
And it's always something video game, comic, geek. They're three very large geeks.
Well, that fits in with a lot of the persona that watches wrestling. So they're actually going the right direction for the niche that watches wrestling majorly.
Yes, they went towards something that they all enjoy to do,
Oh,
and they brought it into wrestling, and everybody loves it.
oh,
There's not too many people who hate the New Day. They get a little annoying. I can say that.
But that's
Right.
part of the whole shtick.
It's part of who they are.
Yeah.
Because I listen to their podcast. Their podcast is great. It hasn't happened in a while because Biggie's out on a neck injury, so
Ah.
yeah, he bad spot.
Bad, nasty fall.
Well,
It was
that's
bad
gonna
spot
happen
and broke
with a
his
lot
neck.
of them. Bad spot?
Bad spot.
Fair
Went for a German suplex and landed on the back of his head.
Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, it was horrible.
That hurts.
So,
Hard to watch.
JP, as a fan, are you more into the old style where everybody had to have a gimmick, or are you into the more now where it's more, for the most part, more focus on the actual wrestling?
It all depends on what I'm watching. If I'm watching Randy Orton, I love the fact that his gimmick is still the same as it's always been. So he still plays his character really well. And then you have guys that are coming up that are newer that should be just working on the wrestling. And that's what I enjoy, because you have guys like Randy Orton who will help the newer guys come up and will help them work on their gimmick because they're good enough in their wrestling, or work on their wrestling because they're good enough in their gimmick. So as long as you have the happy medium of them both, I'm happy with that. That's me as a fan.
Yeah, well,
It's not one or the other.
it's always good to have both, because then you're not struggling on one aspect of it. Because when you're struggling on one aspect of it, you can tell in the actual match.
Well, looking at, Dan was talking about Total Divas. Alright, looking at the female roster of WWE,
Well,
95% of them can't fucking wrestle out of a cardboard box.
oh yeah,
But their gimmicks are spot on. Spot on. They're either a heel or they're a face. But I can't stand to watch them wrestle because they can't do it. And that's my opinion. I cannot watch a women's match without getting pissed off because they're hardly ever good.
Well, I gotta tell you, and it's kind of funny now, and DP, you'll like this one. So, back when I was watching in college, me and a buddy would watch every single week, every Monday Night Raw we would watch, and usually around the 1 hour mark, they always had the mid cards coming up, just a mid card match or whatnot. And during that match, we would get up, go downstairs, and go grab food. So it was like our dinner during that time. We would only do that during a Cody Rhodes match. Only. Because we thought that his matches were so terrible, he was so boring to watch. We just could not watch it. And now look at him. He went out, he helped create AEW, he's back on WWE, and there's likely a championship belt in his future.
Oh, there's most likely a championship belt in his future. But Cody Rhodes still has a way to go, because the match at WrestleMania against Seth Rollins was probably one of the worst matches I've ever seen Seth Rollins do. And Seth is a phenomenal performer. His gimmicks are always spot on, even though this one that he's doing is fucking nuts and annoying.
It's so annoying. His laugh, I want to punch him.
It's annoying as shit. But he is one of the top performers in all of wrestling.
Absolutely.
oh,
Because
yeah.
he's put that much time into his craft and into what he's doing between his actual like wrestling on the show, and then having his wrestling school back in Iowa, he's just put way too much time to be a shitty wrestler. So he is one of the top performers.
What I don't understand, and maybe you can explain this, especially on the fan standpoint, is you have a guy like Bray Wyatt, who I enjoyed his last run as The Fiend. But I didn't think he was, and even before that, the Wyatt family, I loved the gimmick, but I didn't think he was that good of a wrestler. He just didn't move that quick. He only had a couple moves, but he got over so much. He main evented. He got championship belts, all that. But then you get a guy like Ricochet, who is one of the best wrestlers that I've seen, one of the most entertaining to watch, but he doesn't have a gimmick. He's vanilla. Why is a guy that's that good get almost no opportunities? Yeah, he's got the Intercontinental Championship currently, but that doesn't mean a whole lot like it did back in the 80s and 90s. It's kind of more of the mid-card. So why can't he get out of that mid-card range, but guys like Seth Rollins, who's not a big dude, guys like Shawn Michaels, who's not a big dude, really main event and take it to the next level?
When it comes to Ricochet, he got lost in the fray when he came up from NXT. Ricochet was the top dog in Lucha Underground and every other promotion that he went to because he's a high flyer, he's fast, and he's good. But when you come to NXT and you come to WWE, Ricochet is no bigger than Seth Rollins. No bigger than AJ Styles. Alright? So you're competing with all these guys that are the same size as you, who work just as hard, if not harder than you do, work faster than you, perform better than you, get over more with the crowd better. Not everybody followed Ricochet through Lucha Underground into WWE. So he came in and they were like, oh, who's this guy? You know?
Yeah.
I followed him through Lucha Underground with Kyle when he was Prince Puma.
Yep. As Ivan Waterbury.
He was a phenomenal wrestler.
Yeah.
But getting up to WWE, you're going to get lost in the fray if you're just the same as everybody else who's at your weight class.
Yeah. Well, and then when you look at luchadors, you always have to contend with Mysterio.
Yeah, and that's another thing. You got to contend with Mysterio. You got to contend with Rey Mysterio's son Dominic. You got to contend with who else is around there? Shinsuke Nakamura. You're contending with anybody and everybody. But when you're Seth Rollins and you come in because you've been picked to be part of this trio called the Shield, with who is now the tribal chief and the unified champion, Roman Reigns, and then you have the unmentionable Jon Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose. Alright, and you get picked by Hunter Hearst Helmsley himself to stab them in the back to push yourself to the top. That's a lot.
That's what you do.
If you're not getting handpicked like that from the top tier, you're not getting where you need to get. Kofi wrestled for 16 years before he got a title shot. And that happened only because the fans pushed it.
Daniel Bryan, same thing.
Daniel Bryan's the same way. He had to take over Raw to get that title shot. And even then, he had to fight Triple H at WrestleMania. And then go in and fight friggin' Dave Bautista and Randy Orton to get those titles.
Oh, yeah. It's like that, that guy that was always, like a clowning kind of like guy. Oh, what was his name? He had a horrible accent too.
But there's a lot of them that are like that. If you're not gonna show these guys what you can do to get you to that level and what you're willing to do, you're never gonna get there. Kofi was there for, like I said, 16 years before he got his title run. Big E was a big dude, and he finally got his title run.
Right. Those types of guys that they have their title run for a couple months, everyone's happy, but then they get lost in the shuffle and get back thrown back down into mid card.
Yeah, but see, like Big E, Kofi, you're looking at Big E and Kofi. They're part of the New Day. They are one of the best tag teams, and they're a trio. All right, and we've seen them go to war with every tag team in the division, including the Usos, multiple times over tag belts. They always put on a good match.
Yeah.
The WrestleMania match, so many people were pissed about it because they destroyed what the New Day is all about.
Would you have wanted to see the New Day against the Hardy Boys in the Hardy Boys prime?
Yes. I would have loved to see the New Day versus the Hardy Boys versus Edge and Christian in their prime. No, I'm not talking like Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy now when they came back. I'm talking prime when they first started in TLC. First started tops of ladders, tops of freaking chairs, ladders, table stack 3 high, jumping off of freaking 40-foot ladders.
Swanton.
That's the kind of shit I would love to see. Alright, but now you ain't gonna get that because I'm sorry, but the Hardys aren't young anymore.
Oh God, no, they aren't.
Oh,
they
they're
aren't
not.
young at all. They're
Right.
older than me probably. They're like 45, 46.
They're not. You figure the New Day is only in their 30s.
Yeah,
They're still young. They're still young. They're in their prime. This is where they need to be.
Oh yeah.
But Edge is starting something new. As of WrestleMania, he started working with one of the new guys who just came up, Damian Priest.
Oh, is he gonna make the Brood again?
I have a feeling it's headed that way. I'm not really sure. I haven't watched since WrestleMania because I've been kind of busy on Monday nights. I normally have the kids, and Monday normally works. So,
Yeah.
But, yeah,
yeah. Busy time.
But yeah, Edge is working towards some kind of tag team with Damian Priest, and it's going that route where it's dark and they're heels. And it looks like it's going to be against AJ Styles and whoever he chooses.
So a gimmick, another gimmick.
Yeah,
Well,
but the gimmicks
always
work
gimmick.
sometimes. Sometimes the gimmicks work, sometimes they don't.
Do you
And
think
that's when they change them.
Yeah. Now, do you think that gimmicks can be vetoed by the new guys, or do you think they just kind of run with it? Because Carlito wasn't too terrible, but you have
Carlito, that's the guy's name. Oh my God, that guy was so annoying on the mic. Oh my
Carlito was
God,
great.
he was horrible on the mic.
Horrible on the mic, but funny to watch.
Yeah, it was funny to watch. But you guys have like Fandango. You had
Hey, listen, I miss Fandango and freaking Tyler Breeze. I miss that.
what was the name of the guy that came out with all the dancers behind him?
Oh, that was Adam something, and I'm glad he's gone.
Yeah, like those, or here you go, Mace and Retribution. Where
The Retribution thing could have worked if they went the right direction with it, but they didn't. They tried redoing a lot of the Shield stuff, and that just doesn't work. It's already been done once. It was beaten till it was dead.
Well, it's why the $1 Million Man doesn't come back, Mr. Ted DiBiase.
Ted DiBiase will never come back. He tried to once for one of the anniversary shows,
Oh yeah.
and the belt came back. It was there for all of like 3 hours and then gone.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that DiBiase doesn't come back. He's old and
Well, I
needs to stay gone.
get just in general using that kind of like name again because that was always fun watching him walk around with the $1 Million belt.
His son was wrestling with WWE for a while and disappeared. Yeah, he was with Randy Orton in Legacy.
Yep.
And he just vanished. I have no idea what happened to him, and
Oh wow.
nobody knows.
He was fed up with the direction they were having him go. He wanted to go higher, and they wouldn't let him. They kind of put their thumb on him. So,
He was a mid card at best. At best, he wasn't that good of a wrestler. He was not his father.
Well, some people
So,
want to get there.
Hitting, you can't get there just because, oh, my daddy was here. Because if it was that case, Cody Rhodes would have had the belt a long time ago. Dustin Rhodes would have had the belt a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
Friggin', you figure Dominic Mysterio would have the belt by now.
I'm not a big fan of Dominic, to be honest with you.
He's
I'm not
to
either.
put the work in like his father did.
Yeah, I think that he's good, don't get me wrong, he's one of the best, but I think he doesn't deserve where he's at.
He doesn't have the flow that his father's got.
Correct. Now, Charlotte Flair deserves it, in my opinion. I don't think that she needs 16 belts in her first 5 years, but she definitely puts in the work, one of the hardest divas. But guys like Dominic, they're kind of going off the coats of their family.
Yeah, but Charlotte Flair's the only one literally willing, like, worth the belts. She's the only one who actually can wrestle.
No, that's not 100% true. There are some people who wrestle for SmackDown that deserve the belt more than Charlotte. She has the belt, but she does not deserve it 100% of the time. And they need to start spreading these female belts out.
But
because there's only been very few women champions. You figure Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, and there's a couple others. There's a couple that have had the belts. Other than that, yeah, and Bayley. Those ones have had the women's belts the most. Everybody else doesn't even get a shot. Right now, Bianca Belair's got it, but she's slowly becoming another Charlotte Flair. So it's getting to the point where they need to start spreading the belts out.
yeah, well, they need to start spreading it out, but they also need to get
They need to do the same.
pool a little bit better.
There's a lot of very talented women.
Well, they need to make it like the visible better, like other than just counting on their big names.
Yeah, the visibility for their work ethic needs to be shown a little better.
Well,
But
isn't that why
other
they're
than-
doing like all girl pay-per-views now?
They've only done one all-female pay-per-view.
And it did really well.
They did it really well. They were going to do it again, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
I can see that put a big damper
I mean,
on
there's
shit.
a lot of amazing names. Even Ronda Rousey, but that's kind of what it is. But you have Asuka. I mean, Trish Stratus could still take it. Lita could still take it. Beth Phoenix. All these are legit.
Yeah, but I don't want to see legends coming back. People who are in the Hall of Fame should not be able to come back and get a title run. Goldberg needs to go away. Lita should not get a title run. Trish should not get a title run. Beth Phoenix shouldn't get a title run. These, Edge should not get a title run.
Yeah.
If you're in the Hall of Fame already, stop taking titles away from the younger generation who's coming up. Give them your opportunity. You already had yours. That's why you're in the Hall of
already
Fame.
in the Hall.
That's why you're a legend. That's why you're a legend. You don't need the belt. You don't need the accolade. Help build up the younger generation or the new roster. Help build them with their gimmicks, with their wrestling skills, with the mic skills, everything. If you just, I deserve to have a title run, and you take a belt, what are you doing for the younger generation? Absolutely nothing.
Oh god.
Randy doesn't even care if he has a title run again. Alright, Randy's still actively wrestling full-time on the roster. And he does not care if he ever sees that championship title belt ever again.
Well, that's good.
He's carrying the tag titles because he's helping Matt Riddle build his career. Other than that, he doesn't care. And that's what a legend should do. Build your younger generation.
Oh yeah, well that's for sure. Because you need to pass it along. Because you're not gonna be around forever.
Exactly.
Like your body can only take so much. Just ask the other guys. They'll let you know. Like that they might.
Ask
try to
Mick Foley.
deny- Mick Foley? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Mick will definitely let you know. It definitely bit him in the ass.
What's the criteria for a Hall of Famer now? Not your personal. Like, is there a legit committee that says, hey, this person should go in? Or is it just kind of random? They pull old names out of a hat?
It's the board of directors.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I
You're
do believe
basically
it's
looking at the committees for WWE, which is your board of directors and all your CEOs and all of that, and they put together who they think should be in there. The fans do have somewhat of a say. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, this person should be in, or that person should be in." Like this year's Hall of Fame was supposed to be just the Undertaker,
I thought so.
and the Undertaker did. I swear to God, I will not be there for my ring if you do it. He did not want to go in solo.
Oh
He
yeah.
wanted to spread the love.
But the
But
Hall of Fame. So
he did-
you have someone like Edge, where when he was injured, nobody thought he was going to come back, and he made it into the Hall of Fame that year. Why are the guys like John Cena, The Rock, those guys still not in the Hall of Fame? And I mean, they've kind of been out of the wrestling scene for a long time.
Cena's been out of the wrestling scene, but he is still part of the active roster. He could show up on Monday Night Raw and jump into the ring for a 10-minute promo,
Yeah.
and it's going to sell you tickets. The Rock could show up, do another 5-minute promo, and sell tickets. The Rock's not active roster, but John Cena is. Just because he's not there, because he's letting basically the new generation, because again, Cena's 16-time world champion. Do you really think he needs another belt?
Nope.
No. So when do you think that he should go into the Hall of Fame?
When he's ready, yes. When he's ready to retire, he should go into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Cena hasn't said, I want to retire, I don't want to wrestle again.
They're making
He's
huge money
just-
off movies.
He's making movies, he's taking time to do other things, but he is still actively on the roster. He showed up and did a 3-month stint with WWE while he was putting a movie out, because it was coming out.
I believe this was the first WrestleMania since like 2000 that he wasn't at.
Yeah. He's normally at all the WrestleManias, but like I said, he's been letting the younger generation get there
Yeah.
where he's at. Because we already know how good he is. We already know he could sell you a freaking dish towel for $45.
Yep, he does.
Alright, because he sells them off the freaking shelf. Alright, you can make it at home for $5.
Will there ever be another John Cena, another Rock, another Stone Cold, like the Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, the names that, you know, even when they're long gone, they'll be the staples of wrestling?
You'll always have people like that. Like right now, you'll always have Roman Reigns, because he's the tribal chief.
Yeah, but I don't think he's on that same level. I don't
He's
think
not.
in 50 years they'll look back and say, hey, one of the best wrestlers of all time. I don't think anyone's saying Roman Reigns.
You're not ever going to find anybody who's in the PG era ever going to be on the list of names for people like my age
Yeah.
or your age that watch the Attitude Era.
With
Right,
guts and
you're-
everything
you're-
else like
yeah.
that. Like,
You're not going to hit the top 5 of, oh yeah, it's these guys from the PG era. My top 5 are always going to come from that Attitude Era.
yeah.
You know, you're always gonna get the Triple H, the Shawn Michaels, the Bret Hart, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan. You know, you're gonna get these guys. You're not getting Roman Reigns or John Cena or any of them. I'm getting the Attitude Era.
Well, that's a personal opinion, but I think, John Cena, and I was never a huge John Cena fan, but I would say that he'll be up there, at least top 10 of the talks in the future. Maybe
Well, you figure-
with Hulk Hogan, but
You figure in the future, yeah, he'll be up there, because I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up and does one more title reign and puts Ric Flair out of being first for the most titles.
Because they're both tied at 16.
Because they're both tied at 16 right now.
yeah.
So, would it surprise me if he came back and did a 17th run? No. Why? Because it gets Ric Flair out. And right now, Ric Flair is not on anybody's good side, being with AEW or better yet, the New Millennia's WCW.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's where all the old timers went.
AEW, like it's just still proving grounds to help WCW.
AEW is WCW all over again. You got Big Show, Jericho, Flair, Bischoff.
Bischoff's there? Oh man.
If I'm not mistaken, Bischoff went there.
Oh wow.
Actually, I might be mistaken with that. He might not have, but I'm not 100%. I do know
would be there just to piss off Vince.
It's not going to piss off Vince. It's not going to piss off Vince. That's the whole thing.
Well, I know that they can make that storyline because it works.
Because me and Amanda have been talking about this. It wouldn't surprise us at all as wrestling fans if it came out as Vince owned part of the AEW.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Because look at Cody Rhodes. He left, went to AEW.
Came back.
Right, helped create it. And came back. And everybody knew when he went ghost from AEW, he was coming back home. So we all knew he was coming back to WWE.
Oh, yeah.
We all knew he was coming to WrestleMania.
So I gotta.
So,
sorry, go ahead.
It's just, it wouldn't surprise anybody if it came out and it's like, oh yeah, Vince Owens part of this, and he's just shipping guys there to work on their talent and get them back. Right? Daniel Bryan's over there, or better yet, Bryan Danielson. Right? CM Punk.
Oh, CM Punk now?
Yeah, CM Punk's over there. Big Show's over there. Paul, what's his name? Mark Henry's there.
Oh, wow.
You know, but
a lot of the older guys there.
You'll see guys showing up at AEW, but then they're disappearing in the fray because they're doing the same thing WWE did. They're buying up all of this roster with zero room to do anything with them.
Yeah. Well, that's just kind of like what it is right now. There's only so much they can do. So many people can't get on the airwaves as freely and as regularly as WWE because Vince McMahon owns wrestling.
Well, you figure AEW, they've got 2 nights. They've got basically the same kind of time slots. 3 hours on one day, 2 hours on another. But if you have, 70 people on your roster,
there's only so many people.
You can only have
round up.
You can only have 5 to 6 matches in a night and have them be good matches.
Yeah,
and with your occasional shit match.
Yep.
Right? So you're looking at only 12 people out of that 70-man roster getting on TV.
Yeah.
They have 5 or 6 person groups everywhere.
Well, it's not even that. AEW doesn't. You're not committed to just AEW.
No.
You can go to New Japan. You can go to TNA. You can go.
Well, that's what most wrestlers
do. The indie circuit. Well, with WWE, you can't. You can't do your indies and all that because you've got Monday Night Raw, house show, SmackDown, off for a night, back to Raw. You know, and between all that, you know, so you're working all the time. You might not be on TV, but you're working.
Oh yeah, you still have to do autograph signings. You have to do commercials. You gotta do promos for the next week, the off-screen, behind the scenes stuff.
Oh yeah, that's just how all that is. It's another job. It's a job.
Yeah, it's a job in its own.
It's all it is. It winds up being its own job. Like when you're doing that wrestling for WWE, that's what you're doing. It's your profession. That's why it's called pro wrestling.
Well, that's why everybody looks at like the indies, and they look at like TNA and all that. That's all your AAA baseball.
Oh yeah, that's
or your AA baseball.
No, that's your AAA baseball because AAA is right before the majors and all that stuff.
All right, but then you get
double A's and the single A's. That's all in Abel's territory. All right, he has bounced around that indie circuit so much.
right? But then you get to WWE, and that's where a lot of guys are like, oh yeah, this is pro wrestling. This is where I have to put on my big boy pants and show them what I could really do.
Oh yeah.
Because if you don't put in that work,
You don't get
you ain't never gonna hit the show.
No.
You will always be in a dark match or a house show, and you will never be seen on television.
Oh yeah, there are some
In
wrestlers.
the Raw ring, in the SmackDown ring, and there's wrestlers that WWE has that I've never seen a live show.
Oh yeah, well some of them it doesn't add out well, like because they want to put out good quality, so they have all those matches during practices where they can see, is it going to be quality or is it going to be crap? Are you going to give us crap? Well, you get to give crap to nobody really watching. Enjoy. Get
Exactly.
What are your thoughts on this? Would you rather, if you're in the wrestling industry, would you rather be the champ, the number one guy in NXT, or would you rather be the Drew Gulak of WWE?
I'd rather be the number one guy of NXT.
So,
Drew is not a good wrestler, and he doesn't do much of anything. Right? Yeah. If I had to choose between being like champ of NXT or being R-Truth, I'm going to go with R-Truth because he is the most entertaining person to never touch a title belt. He's on the 24/7 champ 700,000 times.
yeah, he's gotten more belts than any other wrestler ever. Actually,
Right? But he doesn't need the belt to have that following.
No,
correct. But he
He's
is
just entertaining.
name. He was on TV every week. As you said, there's people that are never on TV.
Exactly.
The other members of Retribution. There was Mason, T-Bone
Those are the only two left.
or whatever his name was.
Yeah, they're the only two left. Everybody else is gone.
So
They got rid of them all because they were just that bad.
yeah, but if you're good, if you are the top, it's the same thing of any sports. Would you rather be the number one in AAA or the worst in MLB? But same with wrestling. I mean, at the end of the day, you want TV time because TV time equates to money, merchandise, everything along those lines.
Well, that's why I said being Drew Gulak, I would never want to be him because even at his worst, I'd still rather be the guy at NXT who's number one.
Yeah.
Because when you still have a chance to go from that number one spot to being like Kevin Owens, who was at that number one spot, and went up to Raw and made his name beating up John Cena, become the number one guy on Raw with the Universal Championship.
Well, we know that guys from NXT generally don't fare well in the main roster.
It all depends on who you are. Because Kevin Owens fares well. Finn Balor was doing well, but now they've done nothing but screw him over since he had to give up the Universal title when he first won it because he hurt his shoulder. They've done nothing but screw that man over.
That usually happens to some people.
But you figure, from NXT, you have Sami Zayn. He's not doing too bad. He's kind of a goof to watch. Really don't like listening to him. But he's not doing bad. He hasn't disappeared too much. Right? And then you also have to look at your women's division coming up from NXT with Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, Bayley, all of them. They've all done phenomenal.
Yeah. The Four Horsemen.
And coming from that number one spot of NXT to be the number one spot of SmackDown and Raw.
Are they doing a 4-women's horseman? Like,
No, there's not enough. There's not enough talent on both those shows to put together for that.
Regrettably, because that would be an awesome staple.
yeah,
Yeah.
it would work
It would be.
well.
It would be, but then you would have to get together people like, who is it? Fucking, like, Sonya Deville and
Liv Morgan and
Liv Morgan, the Queen of Spades. You know, you'd have to get people like that all together and working on the same page.
Yeah, that'd be really hard.
You can't find 4 people who work on that kind of level, like Charlotte and Becky and Sasha and Bayley did. You ain't gonna find 4 women who individually have been working on their own craft to work as a group that well.
Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler, and who's that new one that just came on? Kind of like the Jazz look-alike. I can't remember her name, but I mean they are legit. They have MMA background, all of them.
Yeah, but
Skills.
they're not. They don't work on the group level that the 4 horsemen
yeah,
work
that's
on.
what you're saying. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Rhea Ripley works
Visually,
better
they're-
solo. Freaking Baszler works better as a solo. Ronda Rousey works better as a solo. They don't work well as tags. You know, in the 4 horsewomen, they work better as a collective group than any of the other women on the roster. If you had to put the 4 of them together, they would shut everything down.
One thing I've been thinking about, and it's a tough question to ask, but if you remember the pipe bomb, CM Punk pipe bomb, you mentioned something where the WWE is this conglomerate does really well with Vince McMahon, but could be even better without him. When Vince either retires or goes, what's going to happen to WWE? And I'm not talking about does it pass down to Shane or any of
No,
that.
it goes
Does
to...
I'll tell
creativity
tell you right now, it's not going to Shane. It's not going to Stephanie.
It's not going to.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it
It's
is.
going to go into Paul because
He's
Paul is the
been
most
there
creative.
forever.
He is the most creative person in that boardroom. Look at NXT.
Yeah, and look what they did to it. They just
Yeah.
took it away from it and made it.
They took it away from him and made it colorful because it wasn't bright enough, being gold and black, right? But Triple H Paul has never been one for colorful stuff. He's the Generation X, right? Black, green, black, gold. He's never been all neon colors and bright and happy bullshit hippie. Triple H Paul is going to take over WWE, and he is more creative and he honed his craft more than anybody else that I know of to work his way all the way into the CEO room and being up in the boardroom from being nothing more than just another guy on a roster.
The fact that when he actually did marry Stephanie, that he was using one of his best friends as, this is his girl, I'm stealing his girl from him and marrying her.
Well, you figure when they first started that whole like storyline of Tess and Triple H fighting and arguing, and where Triple H went and did the eloping with Stephanie in Vegas while she was passed out in the car,
Yeah.
right? Which is shit that could never pass this day on television.
No.
Nope.
No.
He was actually dating Stephanie at that point, and they were trying to keep it. They were trying to keep all of that off the air, so that nobody knew they were actually dating.
Yeah.
Wasn't he legit dating China at that point?
No, he never dated China.
They were good friends.
China was dating X-Pac,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3 kid.
Yeah, that's who it was.
You know, Triple H never dated her, and China only got brought in because of Shawn Michaels and Triple H. They saw her in a hotel lobby and did, we got a job for you.
You're going to be our bodyguard.
You know, it's the same way Kevin Nash got into it.
Yep.
You know, Kevin Nash got brought in by Shawn Michaels to be a bodyguard.
How different is WWE? Presuming that Paul Levesque takes over, how different is it going to be? Are they going to keep Tony Khan as president? Are they going to revamp all creative and make pretty much WWE the new NXT, where getting the crowd back into it, making it more about the wrestlers and less about the pizzazz?
It's always going to be about the pizzazz. It's always going to be about the ratings
Oh yeah.
and all of that. But having somebody like Paul Levesque being in charge is going to bring the more work ethic of, okay, you got to work harder at your talent and your skill and hone your craft more before we're going to put you on the main stage
That
of
makes
Raw
sense.
or
You have to actually
SmackDown.
prove yourself.
You know, it's not going to be, oh, we need to fill a gap here. Let's bring this guy up. It's going to be, okay, well, this guy is working harder, working on his craft better. I'm going to leave him here for another 3 months. And we'll just work the roster we have before we fill that spot. And see who actually wants to be there.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it should be. Like, the best survive, the strongest go on, and the weak, if you're not willing to put in the time and the effort, you're left behind.
Exactly. And that's the way it needs to be.
But do you revamp your creativity? Do you not get rid of, but you kind of force retire Michael Hayes, force retire, all those old school guys that have been there for 30 years and kind of restart, working with the guys like, who's Natalia's husband?
Freaking Tyson Kidd?
Yeah, Tyson Kidd, the Hearts, Shane Helms, which was a Hurricane, all these guys.
It's not even about revamping the creative. It's about listening to the creative more and listening to your talent. Because they're the ones out there living it. So if they're out there telling you, oh, this doesn't work, we need to change it, you have to be able to work with them. Right now, Vince doesn't work with anything. They just have to make it work.
Oh, it's kind of part of being a business.
I think if Paul gets to be in charge, that creative is going to swing at least 180, and it's going to be able to, okay, we can work with you, let's try this. And he's going to get you to the point where you can do what you need to do to get something to work.
Yeah, but you only have so much time to get it to work. But if you can't get it to work in such a period of time, it always should be stopped.
That's what developmental was for. That's what NXT was supposed to be for. Not, okay, this guy's getting a big pop, let's bring him up and watch him fucking fade away into the crowd because he's not ready for Raw.
Yeah. Well, they just need to develop there a little bit longer. But the guys are probably impatient, too, to be just sitting in next NXT and not with the big dogs, not on WWE.
Yeah, I understand that. All right, and in my closing notes, because I'm getting the snapping of the fingers from the wife, so I got to get going. The developmental end of NXT needs to stay developmental. You can't be pushing these guys to get them up to Raw and SmackDown in 3 months.
No,
you have to let them work on their craft, get them developed. That's what it's supposed to be, developmental. It's not supposed to be, okay, you're perfect, let's go, and then wash away because you're still dealing with everybody getting the pops from Randy Orton and the New Day, and you're just getting washed out because there's too much of a roster.
Yeah.
And you're trying to compete with names that you shouldn't have to try to compete with. You should be as good, if not better, than the roster you're going up to.
Yeah.
And that's why you have a developmental. That's why you have schools. You don't go out looking for your job because you suck at it. You go out looking for your job because you're good at it and you want to get better.
Well, that's like, just ask The Miz. He worked a very long time at it.
The Miz was horrible at what he did. When he came into wrestling,
he was absolutely horrible. He started.
But he's always been that guy that you could hand him a mic and he could talk to you for 3 hours about anything. Anything and everything. You give him the mic, give him the topic, and he's gone. It doesn't matter what it is. Right? But then he went from being just the guy on the mic to being the guy who honed his craft, and now he can wrestle.
Yep.
Because now he's one of the top names on the roster, and he's that good.
Yeah, but he's been doing it for a long time. It took him forever.
Well, that was before NXT. It was before all of that. You know, he got his ass kicked a lot.
Yeah, he did.
And now he's gotten to the developed part where he still wants the championships, but he doesn't need it.
Yep.
Because he's now helping train younger generations. Because he knows he's that good, and when he's on the mic, you can't beat it. There's only one guy who can beat The Miz on the mic, and he's not there. Right? And that's John Cena, because he can shut down anybody and everybody. He can shut down The Rock if he wanted to.
That's tough. But yeah, I could see him being able to do it.
You sit there on YouTube, man, and look up John Cena as he goes ripping down freaking Roman Reigns.
Oh yeah, that one was a good one.
Right?
That one was a good
He
one.
ripped Roman for a half hour in the ring before they signed signed for a title match. So you'll see things where John Cena raps out in the line as he's coming in with fans and tears them down.
Oh yeah.
He's that good at what he does because he honed his craft.
That's why
So
that's
where
for that long.
Yeah, that's where NXT needs to go. It needs to go back to its developmental stage. I understand it's got its spot on TV, but still use that as a learning experience. Don't use it as, this is our next big show.
Yeah.
Because NXT will never be SmackDown. It'll never be Raw.
No.
Right? SmackDown's nothing more than Saturday morning highlight. Right? That's all it is, except it's on Wednesday night.
But with that said, I mean, I know that you and I and Dave, we could be talking about this for, the next.
Oh God, we could
4
be talking
weeks,
about
but
this forever. But that's why I also said we're going to be able to do the whole development thing and everything else. But thank you, DP, for popping in on us. We will catch you later. You got
Thanks for having me.
Playing.
Oh, definitely. I'm going to be helping put the kids to bed because I'm pretty sure I'm getting in trouble.
Oh yeah. Well, enjoy. I'm sorry.
Hey, good luck with
That's
it.
all right. That's all right. I'll catch you guys all later.
Have a good night.
Yeah. And with that said, we're going to be signing off as well.
Yes, we will be. Again,
Thank you.
Again, I'm DB.
I'm Steve.
We'll catch
And
you
until
guys
next
later.
time.
Peace.